Y'all welcome back to Cooking with Captain J. And today, boy, we got a good one. We're going to be cooking a good old deal sauce piquante. Alright, y'all, we're going to do step number 1. Of course, we got to start with an old roux. Y'all know how that go down, y'all. So let's see if old Bertha here going to fire up. Oh, yeah. Get that old pot on that fire. And we're going to start with about a cup of cooking oil. Look like about a cup right there. We're going to get that grease hot. And while waiting on this grease to heat up, we're going to go ahead and season up that meat. And let it start soaking in some flavor while we're doing this. We got about 2 pounds of deer meat. And this is a back leg, back quarter. Took a chunk of about 2 pounds of meat off of that. Got it cubed up. I'll go ahead and throw a little salt. A little bit of salt. Go in with a little black pepper. I'll put some good Cajun seasoning, whatever type y'all like to use. A little bit of that Worcestershire. A fun one to pronounce sometimes. A little bit of splash of that. And get a little bit of that old hot sauce in there. Gotta be careful with this one, y'all. This one got some power. We're gonna go easy on it. We'll get that all mixed up good. We got that old deer meat seasoned up pretty good. Now we'll go pop it in the old ice box and get to making that roux. Alright, got that grease warming up pretty good. Let me go ahead and check it out. Put a little bit more fire. Not too much. Think that's gonna work like that. We're gonna go ahead and start adding our flour slowly in there. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and get that flour going. Oh yeah. Start working it in there slow. And I got me a new roux spoon. Let's check this thing out. Old Cypress roux spoon. My uncle made me this. Got that flat bottom bar, perfect for making these roux. Out of some old sinker cypress. Might even be something we logged as a kid, because I went with them when I was probably 8 to 10 years old. Went and get some more cypress logs out of the old spillways. I still remember that. Used to pull a bunch of them things out. Alright, we're gonna get this right, get it where we want it. And get this roux starting to turn dark on us. So while we're stirring this roux, I got a little time. Give y'all a little history, I guess, since we're using this cypress spoon. So logging was a big thing back here. Back around the 1900s, 1930. Somewhere around up in there. Don't quote me exactly, but somewhere around that time. And they cut the more cypress trees out the swamp. And they got what they call these pulbo roads. Which they cut these trails. And they'd have a big boat with a big old cable winch out in the main bayou. And they'd run them cables back there, sometime probably over a mile. Pull them big old logs out. And then they would make what they call a log raft. Kind of bundle them, all the logs all together. So they can bring them to the mill. Well, a lot of logs would break off and sink to the bottom. And they'd lose them. I guess they wouldn't notice it or whatever. But everywhere they had logging operations, them big cypress stumps can be found, big cypress logs are still down there. And when I was a kid, my uncle would go try to find them. We'd pull them up, he'd bring them on in, and when he got enough of them, they'd have a man have one of them portable sawmills, And he'd come over there and boy, he would slice them things into some beautiful boards. And the longer and deeper the more logs sat in that mud, the redder and prettier that wood got. So some of them colors you get out of some of them sinker boards is just unbelievable. So thought that was pretty cool. And this piece of wood probably comes from that. So ain't no telling how old this is. So we're gonna break it in today with this old dish sauce piquante, y'all. I'm gonna stir this. When we get the color, I'll bring y'all in here and let y'all see what we're looking like. Alright, y'all, we got that roux about where we want it. Kind of look like I threw a Hershey's bar up in there, melted it down. It's about what we're looking for. So we're gonna go ahead and throw us a good little amount of onions in there. If I can get it out the bag, come on, y'all. There we go. Alright, probably about a cup and a half of onions, I guess. Onion mix. Go ahead and let that all cook down in there. Alright, we're gonna let the onions cook down for probably, I don't know, about 15 minutes. Let them clear up, get a little bit soft. And we're gonna add the next ingredient. We'll put a little bit more flame on there. Crank it up just a little bit. Get in the center pot. Alright, we've been going about 10-15 minutes. Onions are starting to get clear. We'll go in there with 2 teaspoons of that old garlic in there. Tell you what, we're gonna put a little bit more. Can't go wrong with that up in there. Mix that all in good. Boy, you can already start to smell this coming together, man. We haven't got to the good part yet. We'll mix that all in good. We'll let that garlic cook in there for about 5-6 minutes. And we'll be ready to start making that gravy. That good old stew base. Alright, we got that garlic, we got them onions and them celery and them bell peppers. They all becoming good panage and getting close together. So now, I'll go ahead and start adding no water in there. And you can use beef stock if you want. But Capt J don't really use stock too much. I usually got plenty of flavor without all that in there. So we're just gonna add that water. We'll probably get that pot close to 3/4 full there. Alright, y'all. Y'all can see. We got this going to a pretty good ball right now. So, this is the part where we go from a traditional stew to what they call a sauce piquante. Let me show y'all how we're going to change that right quick. So right here, we got a can of diced tomatoes. Easy, J. Don't go got burnt. Gonna put a thing of diced tomatoes in there. And we're gonna add a small can of tomato paste. And that's gonna give it that red look that we're looking for. Make it more of a sauce piquante instead of a regular old stew. So that's your difference between a stew and a sauce piquante. Get all that in there. Come on. Now you can use a little tomato sauce if you want. Tomato sauce, you can add rotel. They make a mild rotel, they make a spicy rotel, which is a bunch of different peppers, tomatoes, things like that. But I know y'all watch me cook, and I pretty much keep it simple. Keep it like it was, just like from the early Cajuns, my great-great-grandparents, my grandparents. That's why y'all don't see me use stock and all that other stuff, because back then, they didn't have access to all that. But they had access to homegrown tomatoes, make their own sliced up tomatoes, their own paste, Simple ingredients of what they had laying at the house in their garden. And of course they had access to deer. But you can do the same gravy with fish stew. They call it a fish coubillon. Basically the same gravy. Alligator, another popular one, doing it this way. But that's why old Captain J kind of cook like he does, the old traditional way. Kind of cook like the old Cajuns, what they had access to. There wasn't no grocery stores like they are nowadays, and most of them lived out in the middle of nowhere. So actually where we go camping at, the little lease I got, my great-great-grandparents lived somewhere around there. Not exactly 100% sure, but they didn't have no cars, no nothing. Everything was by boat. Had to paddle in the town. They had cows, chickens, all that stuff. And they moved out of there back when they had the Great Flood. That was before the levee system. Had a big flood, and they lost a lot of their animals and everything else. Water was up to the roof of their houses. So that's kind of when everybody got out of there, came into town. And then of course the levee system was built at some point. Not exactly sure, I have to look that up. But so that's why old Captain J kind of cook like a cook. Kind of keep it how it is. Simple. So we're going to let all them flavors blend together. Let it start cooking down. About 30 minutes. And then we're going to add that deer meat. Because deer meat take a while to get tender. If it be beef, it'd be an hour and a half before I add that beef in there. But that old deer meat, we're going to stick it in there once this get going good again. Let little water cook out. We're going to let it start doing its thing. We got that old sauce piquante gravy coming together good. Everything blending together good right now. So I'm going to go in with my first round of seasoning. We'll come in here with some salt. About a tablespoon of that. Some good old black pepper. Don't be shy on the black pepper. Some of that old Cajun seasoning. That ought to give it a little flavor. A little hot sauce. Start to give it some kick. And we're going to go in with about 2 teaspoons of sugar. That old sugar cuts down the acidity of the tomatoes a little bit. Kind of help balance the flavor of it so it ain't so tangy. We'll put that in there, make that all good. And that deer meat, y'all seen already, put some seasoning in that. So that's why I say I'm going to go with my first round. Then once we get that old deer meat in there and cook down for about an hour, that's when we'll go ahead and get a sample and see if we got to add something or whatever. But we sure can't take it out, so we're going to wait to finish it up a little later on down the road. That old sauce been going for about 30 minutes now since we last checked in. So now we're going to go ahead and start easing that deer meat in there so it can start cooking down. At the point you got to be careful. You don't want to splash this on you because it will burn for a minute. Nice and gentle. Now this is the part, you don't want to be in a rush with this. We're going to cook it on a low to medium, just below medium flame. Cook it low, cook it long, till that old deer meat get tender. It'll probably be a couple hours, maybe even 3. Now you can kind of sit back, the hardest part's done. Let it do its thing. And get ready. Put that on some more rice. So we're going to come check this in about an hour. See how it's doing. We've been messing with this probably an hour now since I put the deer meat in. Old Captain J ran into a slight problem. The sauce was getting too thick and the pot was still full. So I actually pulled out a can and a half of sauce. It was already getting too thick and the pot was barely dropping. So that wasn't gonna work. I don't want no tomato spaghetti sauce. So I pulled some out. We added a little bit of water to get it back thin. But it's coming along good. Now that I got that part taken care of. But I'll bring y'all in a little closer. Y'all can check it out. And now I got it going really slow with the cover on, trying to hold some of that water in there. Hey, y'all check it out. See how it's looking? Looking pretty good. I checked the piece of meat. It was still got a ways to go. So, man, you gotta kind of stir it fairly often with this tomato sauce in there, because it will kind of clunk at the bottom. So I've been stirring it every so often, keeping an eye on it. But we're gonna let it go. See how it's looking in about another hour. Oh, let's see how that old pot going now. Boy, that's looking good. About 2.5 hours since that meat got put in there. Golly. Boy, that's looking good. Let me get a chunk of meat and check it right quick. Oh boy, that spoon just about went through with no trouble. So it's definitely getting tender, y'all. I'm gonna let it go probably 1 more hour. And I barely got the heat on. So we'll probably let it go 1 more hour. And that's gonna be melting your mouth good. Let me go get y'all and bring y'all over here. Y'all can take a look. Man, y'all look at that. Boy, if y'all can smell this. Let me see if I can push a little bit that way. Smelling pretty good. Got that old dead meat, chunks of potato in there, tomato, I mean. Boy, I get my words all backwards all the time. Boy, y'all look at that. Golly. I say another hour. That's gonna be melting your mouth good. That'll be ready to throw on some rice. Alright, y'all, it's been about 3 hours now. Let's go ahead and check it out. Get a piece of meat. Oh yeah. I think that's about done, y'all. That old spoon just breaking it up. See, that's done. We're gonna put that cover on there. We're gonna let it rest for a while. And then we're gonna get some rice going. And I guess we're gonna fix a plate, try it out. So I'll be back in a little bit. We're gonna see what we're working with. Alright, y'all. We got that pot. We're gonna call that done. We want to get a little bit of rice for little G, so he can go ahead and let us know if it's good or not. So go ahead, G. Check it out, see what you think. Good old deer meat. Two thumbs up? Mm-hmm. Good. Cool deal. Well, that's going to conclude this cooking episode. So we're going to bring the pot in. Me and Mama going to chow down on this. Lil G says good. Alright, folks. Appreciate y'all coming along on another cooking adventure with us. Dead sauce piquante. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Got some more freezing weather coming, so hopefully we can get out pretty soon. So y'all stay warm out there, whoever's affected by all these cold storms we've been having. Until next time, we'll catch y'all later on. Peace.
Peace. This stuff good.